Are you interested in taking a sabbatical, or are you currently planning to take a sabbatical? Today, I'm going to be watching some TikToks of people who are either planning a sabbatical or they have taken one, they're currently on sabbatical, etc. I know that planning and taking a sabbatical may be out of reach for a lot of people, but I think it's something that you can eventually get to. If you work on improving your finances and you get to a point where you don't have any consumer debt or even any debt at all, and you kind of lower your expenses, get to a situation where you're like, hey, if I saved up X amount of money, I could take off X amount of time from work, give myself a cushion after that so that I can apply to jobs, get my next job, or even go back to the job that you were taking the sabbatical from. I think it's something that so many people would benefit from. Just about everybody would benefit from. I mean, imagine just being able to take time away from work and focus on personal projects, or just take that time to relax. Maybe you want to travel, maybe you want to try some sort of small business, something like that. There's so many different options and ways to go about doing it. And I know it can really help with things like burnout and just fatigue from going to work for so many years. Personally, about 2 years ago this time, I was planning a sabbatical myself. I gave myself 18 months to prepare for it. And I knew that at the end of the 18 months, I wanted to leave my job and take my business full time, but I was like calling it a sabbatical at the same time because it was like an entrepreneurship sabbatical. And deep down, I knew it wasn't a sabbatical. Like, I knew that if I left my job, I probably wouldn't be going back. I would do whatever I needed to do to not go back to a 9-to-5 job. But that 18-month plan was significantly shortened and ended up only being about 6 months of planning and prep. And after that, I was like, I'm done. I'm at a point where I've paid off all my debt. I was no longer living alone, so just living expenses in general were much more affordable for me. I had saved up quite a bit of money, and I was making enough money online to sustain myself. And I was also really, really burnt out. So I was like, I'm just going to take the leap, trust the process, and I have been self-employed ever since. So it wasn't really a sabbatical, but I was planning for it. I was actually making content around this. Every month I was providing a sabbatical update, and it was super fun to plan, I think, for other people. So for those who may not have something on the side, or you don't have a small business, anything like that, then you can still plan a sabbatical. And I think it's really fun, the possibilities. I know it can be an intimidating thing to plan out or even think of actually doing, especially when you're in the actual sabbatical, and then toward the end of it, it's like, I need to go back to work. What do I do? How do I explain this gap in my resume? But I think that's something that's being more accepted these days, and giving yourself that time to rest, recover, follow a passion project, whatever it may be, that allows you to go into your next job or return to your job that you took the sabbatical from a lot more refreshed and just kind of clear-minded. And I think that is powerful. And truly, I think this is something that more people can take advantage of. Yes, you've got to be really intentional about it. You may have to sacrifice for some time for certain things, but getting a solid plan in place and something that you feel comfortable with, that gives you kind of a lot to look forward to. And I do believe that it's something that you could incorporate into your working career consistently. So maybe every 5 years or every 10 years. So this is sabbatical. Sometimes people call it semi-retirements or like mini retirements, and you just do this every so often in your career. So I would absolutely love to hear if you are currently planning a sabbatical, or if you're in one, or if you've done this in the past. But let's go ahead and get into these TikToks and see what we come across. I'm going to try to just keep in ones that are from 2025.
I want to quit my job and take a sabbatical. This is how I'm budgeting for it in order to make it less scary. But as someone who grew up low income and is extremely risk averse, here are the 3 steps that I'm taking in order to make it less scary. For reference, I work in regulatory compliance. I have an undergrad degree in biology, but I am going back to school to get my master's in accounting. Before I quit my job, I want to make sure I have some sort of steady income coming through. I would need to have an internship lined up before I give in my notice. Not been unemployed since I was 23 years old. I think having some sort of steady income would make the transition a lot less scary. Second thing I need to have 1 year of expenses in a high yield savings account. I do have 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund. Saving 1 year's worth of expenses would actually give me enough runway to have some fun and not have to worry about every single penny that is coming out of my bank account. I do consider myself extremely privileged to have steady income and have a steady paycheck dropping in my bank account every other week. The point of a sabbatical for me, and just quitting my job, is to use the time off to pivot into a new career through an internship, and also have enough time to to travel. You're also planning a sabbatical. You have also taken a sabbatical in the past. In the comments, what are some of the things you wish you would have known before you did that?
Taking a sabbatical can be really intimidating. I would completely understand that. If you are going from this point in your life where you're making money and that's how you pay your bills, and then you choose to leave your job and just live off of your savings, that can be scary. So that's exactly why you got to figure out what number you would feel comfortable with and how long that's going to last you for. Other things to consider during times like this are what you're going to do for health insurance. Depends where you live, but in America, you've got to pay for that yourself. You could do Cobra, or maybe you're on your, if you're married or in a domestic partnership, you could go on their insurance, but that is one thing to consider and a big expense potentially. I would absolutely make sure you are insured while taking a sabbatical. Don't let that slip out, but you got to make sure you budget for things like that. And I like that she called out making money while on the sabbatical, and I think that would provide a lot of peace of mind for people. So if you have something that is bringing in money, whether maybe that's part of your sabbatical plan, is while you're preparing for this for the next 2 years or whatever it may be, you're like, okay, in the background, I'm going to be building up this small side hustle. And once I leave my job, I'll still have that as a stream of income, and it feels a little bit less intimidating. So very smart. She has been in these TikTok videos, some other TikTok topic before, First Gen Rich. She's great.
If you're thinking about taking a sabbatical, time off work, but you're not really sure what you would do with that time, here are 5 different types of sabbaticals that are common. Number 1 is adventure or travel, which is probably the most popular, and it's what I'm currently doing. I'm actually on month 8 of my travel sabbatical around the world. Number 2 is a creative sabbatical. So maybe you've always wanted to write a book, or you've always wanted to get into art or learn how to play the piano, and you just have no time to do that. You can take time off to do whatever you want, and you can do it wherever you want. So pick a place where you're comfortable, pick a skill you've always wanted to learn, and take a few months off and do it. Number 3 is a family sabbatical. And this is also, I feel like, becoming more popular, especially for moms who feel like they're kind of missing out. And a lot of moms and dads are now taking sabbaticals from work to spend more time with their kids and their family. Number 4, and I like this one a lot as well, is career pivot sabbatical. You quit your job and you're taking time off, but you know you're going to return to the workforce, but you're kind of done with your current position. Maybe you want to start a whole new career. So you could take this time, whatever it is, 3 months, 6 months, a whole year, if you have the means to do so, and kind of figure out what you want to do next. Take any courses you may need to take to do that. Career pivot is a cool one to do. And finally, I like to call it a tranquil sabbatical. And this is when you're taking time off to basically work on yourself or just have quiet time. I just read an article of a woman who took like 6 months off to do nothing. And I loved this article because she just did nothing. She did whatever she wanted to do, which was usually just relax, read, whatever it is. For some people, that's cool. For other people, they want a retreat. And I am all about this. People will go on yoga retreats or meditation retreats. Because I've had such a great experience on my sabbatical, I now teach other people how to take sabbaticals, how to plan for it, budget for it. And what I say to you now is, even if you're nowhere near being ready financially, mentally, emotionally, whatever, start planning now. Because if you have any idea that you might want to take time off from work in the future, you need money. So you need to start saving now. So start that sabbatical fund and follow me for more tips.
That's so good. These are, all 5 great things to do on your sabbatical, or you could do all 5, honestly. I think it usually does end up being a combination of a few of these things. Also, she mentioned the family sabbatical, which it could be for children, but it could also be for people who have to care for a sick loved one, like a parent or a sibling, or maybe even just aging parents and that type of thing. So there's all different reasons for people to take a sabbatical, and it may not even be that you have to take care of somebody. It's just spending more time with somebody who's really sick, or your children, like she said. Each of these would also require different things, especially that first one where it's adventure/travel. If you plan on traveling around the world or wherever it is that you want to travel to, that's going to be more money, more than likely. And so you have to prepare for that and have more saved up. When you're planning a sabbatical, having sinking funds is really important. Like, make sure you have your emergency fund. That's one thing. Have your sabbatical fund. So that's what you would live off of while you are on sabbatical to pay for all of your bills and all of that. But also have additional sinking funds. So car maintenance or health, pets, etc., just so that you can pull from those things and still, like, you're just going to be set all around. One other thing I wanted to call out was the tranquil sabbatical that she mentioned. After leaving my job, my 9-to-5 job, and becoming fully self-employed, the first 3-4 months or so, I slept so much. Like, I was sleeping for obviously hours per night, but then in the morning I would like read my book and fall back to sleep. Like, I would just sleep on the couch for some time. I was exhausted. As I mentioned, at this point, I was super burnt out from having my full-time job, but also on YouTube and clients and all these things. It was just so much. And I definitely felt that for the first few months after leaving. And I made sure to take the time to rest and recover. I was still being productive. I mean, you can go back and see I was still posting content, but nothing like I was doing now. And the difference that I feel now, like, I don't need to nap on a daily basis. I don't feel that tired. I can get through a full day and be functional. I don't have that burnout feeling anymore. And by leaving my job, it really allowed me to do that and get the proper rest that I need. Like, I feel like I caught up on the rest. I know that's not possible, but just giving myself the time to do that was pretty life-changing.
I'm planning to get laid off. Hasn't happened yet, but layoffs are happening all around me all the time. For most people, this plan would be beefing up your emergency fund, getting your resume up to date and LinkedIn up to date, starting to apply and interview for new positions. But for me, I decided that I want to take a sabbatical. I don't want to outright quit my 9-to-5 because honestly, I like it. I like having consistent income and health insurance and a 401k match. But with layoffs happening all the time, that wouldn't really be my choice. And I think it would be the perfect opportunity to step aside from corporate for a little bit and kind of refresh. So here's the plan. I want to take a 12-month sabbatical to focus on my health, hobbies, rest, and content. And then I want to tack on 6 months to the end for job searching because we know the job market has been pretty difficult. That is potentially a full 18-month sabbatical. Now, in trying to decide if I wanted to take a sabbatical, my two biggest concerns were, number one, how will this affect my long-term retirement? And number two, explaining a gap on my resume. So of course, I created a sabbatical version of my FIRE calculator so I could toggle on and off the sabbatical to see how it would affect my FIRE date. Without the sabbatical, I will retire at 39.33. And with an 18-month sabbatical, investing $0 for the entire 18 months, that would put my retirement at 40.5. That's just 14 months later. And more realistically, between my content income and severance, I would be able to invest about $5,000 a month, which would make my FIRE date 39.92, which is just 7 months later versus if I didn't take a sabbatical. Doing this exercise made me realize I would actually be stupid to not take the sabbatical. I don't need to freak out about layoffs. I can just go straight into having some temporary freedom in my early 30s instead of working 2 jobs nonstop for 10 whole years. My other concern was explaining a gap in my resume, but I already have 7 years of experience in product management and project management in the corporate world and half of that in tech. And that's on top of having my own online business where I'm literally the project manager, the product manager, the product developer, the hiring manager, operations manager, creative director. Like, this job is everything all in one. It's actually way harder than my corporate job. I'm naturally a very risk-averse, anxious person, but I'm trying to unlearn that and trust myself more and take more risks. And building out my sabbatical plan has made me 1000% more confident in this decision if I do get laid off. I am working on bundling all of my tools that I'm using to build out my sabbatical plan and some advice that I have. Let me know if you're interested in that.
Miss Mackenzie Mack, she makes some great content on TikTok. She puts some on YouTube as well now. We actually messaged back and forth on TikTok for some time, and she was talking about how she was expecting to get laid off. And that was a couple of months ago, so she still hasn't. This was posted at the end of September, but this is kind of a nice way to go about it. I think she was saying that there were people at her company that were getting laid off, so she's expecting it. And that's a pretty powerful place to be in. She makes quite a lot of money, not only from her full-time job, but she makes a lot of money from her content creation, like thousands. Like, I think 1 month recently she made over 40,000. So she is good. She's all set. This is all going to come down to mindset and just being okay with not making that much money anymore. I honestly believe that she'll be able to continue to invest even when she takes her sabbatical. So her situation is quite unique because for her, getting laid off is like a good thing, and it's only going to benefit her even more because she gets like a severance package and that thing. So for her, getting laid off would be a nice thing. And like she's literally planning for it while other people are stressing about that. So I know her situation wouldn't fit for a lot of people unless you've been saving up for years and years and years and you're like, all right, if I'm laid off, then cool, I'm good to go for 12 months, 18 months. But she'll absolutely be fine. And I love the detail of her planning. I think just even having, I don't know if she has that available for purchase or if she gives it out for free or anything, but if you are interested in taking a sabbatical, having something like that so you can see how it affects your long-term goals. I wouldn't be surprised if she takes this sabbatical and then doesn't go back to a 9 to 5 though. Like she'll probably just continue full-time content creation. The other thing is that 12 months, 18 months, it goes so fast. Like I've already been self-employed for 18 months and that's crazy.
It's Wednesday, and here are 5 things that I'm doing to financially adjust my life while on sabbatical. The first one is using that list that I talked to you guys about, which is categorizing your items for purchasing from need, love, like, to want. When you have discretionary money, only pulling from the top needs list first. The second thing is using what I already have, which I don't know if you guys remember Project 10 Pan, but that was when makeup artists would use up all the makeup that they already had before purchasing more. So that's my intention, is looking around the house and seeing what I already own before I buy anything new. Number 3 is meal prepping my food. And this one hurts because I live in San Diego and I love eating out. Since I have more time on my hands and my boyfriend and I are on the same page about keeping costs low, eating healthy, I'm definitely going to be buying in bulk so that each meal ends up costing less. Number 4 is pausing any major subscriptions or pink tax subscriptions. I pay $145 for my gym every month, and I've already paused it because that's just like so much money to be paying. And I'm gonna find creative ways to do my workouts and get my steps in. Also, things like getting my eyelashes done, my nails done. I have taken breaks from my eyelashes before. That's definitely going to save me some money over time. Number 5 is just finding other creative ways of making money / spending zero money. I've already talked to you guys about selling my artwork, selling clothes on Depop, exchanging clothes with friends, but something that I love doing is actually just like finding free things and going to my local library for books, finding creative ways to do things a little differently that aren't going to cost money. It is definitely a journey, but I'm going to keep you guys updated. Let me know if you want to see that list of free things to do if you are in a similar financial situation.
If you are planning to take a sabbatical and you want to keep things the same, you can absolutely do that as far as your expenses go. You just need to make sure you have enough saved up to cover that length of time and then some in case it takes you more time to get a job back. But you can get around this by lowering your expenses or by making money while on sabbatical or have some sort of money coming in. And it's just a more enjoyable way for you to be making money, not a full-time job or anything like that. Yeah, for all the things she went through, there's lots of alternatives, free options or more affordable options. And I like that she recognized the things that are not super important to her while she's on sabbatical. Like keep in mind that when you're taking a sabbatical, those things, while they may be important to you while you're making good money, when you take a break from work and you're making less money, but you have all this time freedom, things kind of shift and you're like, whoa, life is way different when I have complete control of my time and all the things in my life, the money that's in my life, while it's still important, it just kind of changes your brain and how you want to spend your money.
150 days until my sabbatical begins. Have I done any planning? No, but I've thought about it a lot, so there's that. I am thinking Mexico for 1 month, Europe for another month, and then 2 weeks in Southeast Asia or East Asia. The real question here is like, what's the budget for it? How much am I going to spend if I go to all these places? And I don't know if I'm ready for that part, but I do know I'm ready to travel the world. And that's coming in 150 days.
That's pretty close. So hopefully she starts planning and you can travel to these places on a budget, be more affordable with things, but it is going to still cost you more, mostly for lodging, depending on what your plans are, if you know people, that type of thing. But there are other options. So I know that there's websites that allow you to go to somebody's home and stay with them for free or discounted if you help them with their farm or house sitting or pet sitting, things of that nature. But I don't know how comfortable people would feel. Like, I personally prefer to be alone or like with I've never traveled as a sabbatical or for a super long amount of time, but I wouldn't want to be like staying with a family or other people. Definitely depends on your comfort level. And I'm also somebody who prefers to travel a little bit more fancy, nothing crazy, but I don't want to stay in like a hostel or, it just depends.
If someone asked me what is the best thing I did for myself and my mental health, it would be take a sabbatical. Some people call it fun employed. Some people call it taking an adult gap year. But take a break from working. It'll change your life forever. I quit my job June of 2022, and I just started working January of this year. And when I tell you, everyone needs a break. Y'all have to understand, we have been doing this for a very, very long time. To pull back, your body is going to go through so much. You can do whatever you want with your sabbatical. The only thing I wanted to do really was rest. I did do a little bit of traveling. I spent a lot of time with family and friends, spent a lot of time with my son, just being home all the time. It was such a nice little break. Currently, I'm already making my plan for my sabbatical for 2027. So I'll tell you, what's the secret to saving up the FU money to finally quit your job? Number one, I feel like becoming debt-free helped me. I was debt-free the first time. I'm going to be debt-free the second time thanks to bankruptcy. You can't pay off debt. It's not a big deal, but I will say pay up some of your bills. I paid up my phone bill for 2 years. I paid up my car insurance for 6 months. And last but not least, you're going to have to be on a strict budget now so you don't have to be on a strict budget later. I wasn't playing. Don't overspend. You might have to miss out on some stuff, but that's okay. You got a bigger goal in mind.
I'm sure many of y'all know her. This is Kiki. I think her YouTube channel is it Upgrade? I don't know. This one, her TikTok is Life is Kiki, so it could be the same thing. But I've been subscribed to her for years. I've watched like all of her videos throughout her journey, so I'm quite familiar with it. But I do know that she ended up filing bankruptcy. During her sabbatical, she had started a business she would buy cars and then put them on Turo. She also lives in Atlanta though. So when you buy the cars that she was buying and putting those on Turo, she unfortunately was attracting a lot of irresponsible people, thieves, and just criminals basically. And they were crashing the cars, getting into legal trouble with the cars. And so that came back on her. And I think a big part of why she needed to file bankruptcy was because of the cost of those things, but also the cars. Like, she owned a number of cars, and then like some of them were completely totaled, but it ended up not working out for her, but she has explained why she ended up filing bankruptcy. But yeah, she said it there with the debt. It really helps to not have debt going into a sabbatical. And y'all really do deserve a break. Like, if you're thinking of taking a sabbatical, get serious about it and start planning it, because as I keep saying, that rest and recovery makes a world of a difference. Like, you need it. You will feel it in your bones, in your body, and it's much needed.
I decided to go on my career break. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but luckily everything fell into place. So originally I had left my job of 4 years and I had taken a new job. I did that job for a month and I realized it was not the job for me. I quit like on the spot, and then I came home and I was sitting on the couch and I just was thinking about all the things, all the conversations that I'd had over the last couple of years. And I remembered a conversation that I had with an Uber driver who told me about TAFE. So that is what I'm doing on my career break. I'm going to TAFE 3 days a week. And I'm also doing my side hustle, which is running workshops. So I do upcycled necklace making workshops where you can make cool necklaces like this using secondhand beads. And immediately after I quit that new job that I did for a month, I went to New Zealand. I booked in a tour in New Zealand and I did a 2-week tour of New Zealand, taking my workshops around the country, and I managed to pay for the trip and earn a little bit of money at the end, and that kept me going until TAFE started. And now I'm at TAFE and I'm using my emergency fund. So I had about $5,000 saved in my emergency fund, and that's helping cover groceries, takeaway, petrol, anything else like that. And all of my supplies for TAFE, I'm buying those from my business account. So my DIY Daisy money, that is sewing money. And so anything that I buy for sewing comes out of that fund. I will pay myself from upcoming workshops. If I make any profit, I'll pay myself from that as well. So that is how I'm covering it. But I was lucky that when I quit on the spot, I knew I would be okay because I have an emergency fund. And if that runs out before my career break ends, I'll dip into my other funds like my travel fund or my bills fund that I had saved. So if you want to go on a sabbatical, you do need to save money beforehand. I highly recommend having an emergency fund or a career break fund.
Yep, you see, emergency fund, sabbatical fund, plus other sinking funds. So you're just covered all around. I had to look up what TAFE is. So that stands for Technical and Further Education. Australia's main provider of public vocational education and training, offers hands-on skills training for specific jobs and industries such as construction, IT, and hospitality. It says for the cost, it is generally more affordable than going to university, and you learn more hands-on. So very interesting. To me, this sounds like going into trade in America, like going to learn how to be an electrician or a plumber versus going to a typical 4-year university. I like that she also started doing workshops, got creative and started charging for workshops. That's also an option. If you have some sort of skill, you can charge a little bit of money for people to join your community or to host these little workshops, teach yoga, teach how to upcycle necklaces. I think when you're in that situation too, you start to, once you've taken a break for some time, your creativity comes out. So many of us lose creativity through the societal norms, getting a 9-to-5 and just sticking with that for years and years and years. And when you get a break and your brain has some freedom to think, then things start coming to you. Ideas, creativity, happiness.
This is a great question. How to take a sabbatical when you really don't have the extra money to do it? Well, I was fortunate. I was working. I stacked my money. I had also airline points so that I was able to take trips like I wanted to. But if you don't have the money, if you don't have airline points, well, you can save enough money to get a flight so that you can go and house sit internationally. There is Trusted House Sitters. There are other kind of house sitting websites. The other thing you can do is World Packers. It's a volunteer experience where you get room and board in exchange for work that you do for a specific group, organization, individuals who are also listed on the site. And so you can go to the website, worldpackers.com, I think, and they also have an app. But sabbaticals are a really good way for you to reset your entire life. That's what I did, and I have no regrets. I literally needed that. My body needed that. My mind, my soul needed that experience, and I just committed to doing it. I decided, you know what, I can't anymore. I want to just go, and I want to take some time off from work, and I want to be able to make shifts and changes in my life. And I can't do that if I'm working all the time, if I'm always taking care of other people. So sabbatical was the answer. I also, at the job I was on, I took a mental health leave. And so I was paid for most of that time. It wasn't my full salary, but I did get paid to be on a break. So that's another option as well. If you are a full-time employee with benefits and you just check in to see if they have a leave policy, if they have a either physical or mental leave policy, mental health leave policy. That's also an option. So don't count yourself out. Look for ways, creative ways, in order to do the thing you want to do. If it's volunteering, if it's house sitting, which you don't get paid, but you get the housing so that you have to worry about paying for a hotel or motel. And then there's also hostels. I haven't done that yet. I don't know if I will, but because I kind of like luxury. But there's options. You just have to be creative with what you want to do in life. So go out there, first make a decision and decide, is a sabbatical possible for you? It is. But then decide, is it something that you're going to do now or later? Plan for it and get going. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be for a year. It could be 6 months. It could be 3 months. But make it long enough so that you get a chance to have some breathing room and breathing space in your life. Hope that helps. If you have any other question.
Yep, these are great tips. And see, she talked about the housesitters.com or whatever it is, and you have different options for going places. I still think even if you're at a point where you're like, I need to leave my job like right now because I'm going to have an episode, That's one thing. I know some people end up in that situation and then they leave and they feel good about it, but they don't have enough saved. So then that kind of creates this whole new stress. Sometimes it could be worth it though. Like you're fine, whatever. I'm just going to go into credit card debt. I don't recommend that though. Try to hold on for at least a few months, get some savings built up, and then try these options. Like do a lot of research and cut your budget so that you can save even more money, have that plan built out, because I think a lot of times people jump into things and then it doesn't go the way they expected. With taking mental health breaks from work, sometimes it's easier at other jobs, but oftentimes you're going to have to go through like a formal FMLA process, taking an FMLA leave, and that often requires you to get like a note from a therapist or from a doctor or somebody saying that you are needing this break from work. So it just depends on where you work and the specifics around it, but that's usually possible with a lot of these like corporate jobs especially. And then by doing that, you can still get paid a little bit.
I often talk about working 2 remote jobs for 6 to 18 months so that you can save up enough money, quit both jobs, move abroad, give yourself a year sabbatical, or take an adult gap year where you actually get to sit and breathe and be, and maybe not even think about work at the moment. Or maybe you're just strategizing, but you're using that year to do whatever you want to do, like giving yourself that space and time. However, how do you actually know whenever it's time to say goodbye to a job? I like to base that off of my soft exit number. My soft exit number happens to include whatever debt I have that I need to pay like sooner than later. My monthly expenses that I can't get rid of, like these expenses are going to follow me no matter where I go. Like if I had a car back home or something that I was still paying on, like I did when I first moved abroad, I need to calculate that in my number. And then the cost of living of where I'm going to be at. So I'll use Airbnb to kind of figure out how much are the going rates for the places in that area. And then I know that, okay, well, if I move here, it's going to be $700 a month. Food-wise, it's looking like it's going to be about $600 to cover 2 people. Add that up with maybe like the $300 that I got to pay back home. Well, now I know that I'm between $1,500 and $2,000 a month that I need to have in order to make it where I'm going. You take that $2,000 times it by 12, that's what, $24,000. $24,000 is what I need in order to take a gap year. But once you have that number, even if you don't have that amount in your bank account, now you have a visible thing, like a visible goal to work towards. And there's something so empowering about that, because now all of a sudden it's not you and a lofty dream, it's you and something that could actually happen, and the only thing standing between you and the thing is $30,000. And suddenly the wheel starts spinning of how you can make this money. Is there a new skill or something that you can acquire? Is there a gift that you already have that you can sell? Is there a digital product that you can make? Can you get another job? My answer was to work 2 remote jobs for 6 to 18 months and get my exit number and get up out of there. My initial exit number was, I think, $20,000. And I literally worked 2 remote jobs. I got the $20,000 and I just kept on going until I got tired, which is why I tell people don't do it any longer than 18 months. But I was able to do those things, set my number, move abroad, and now I'm down to working 1 remote job. But I would have never gotten to that point if I didn't start strategizing what my soft exit number was. What number do I need to have in my account to feel safe making this leap?
Someone in the comments said the many retirements have saved me. I agree entirely. 2 remote jobs is a good idea. You got to be, quiet about it and make sure the other doesn't find out. Sometimes a job will be okay with it and vice versa. I've worked with a couple of clients who worked 2 remote jobs at the same time, like full-time jobs, which I think is insane. And they were making really good money, like sitting pretty, but I know that they're tired. Like I can't imagine how I would be stressed out. I guess it depends on how the job looks too, because at my 9 to 5, I was on calls all the time. There would be some days where it was just all calls, or I just had so much work to do that just even imagining something else would be impossible. Aside from something more flexible, like creating content on YouTube or having clients when I could control, like, okay, that's going to be at 8 p.m. instead of in the middle of the day. But yeah, I think just having that number, knowing, like she said, it's now visible. Okay, I need $24,000, and I know that number can feel far away and intimidating, but eventually you'll get there. And I think just having that set out there, you are more motivated to get to it, and you will make progress and it will get easier with time. but it's absolutely worth it. So figuring out that soft exit number, as she called it, is great. And keep in mind, you don't have to go anywhere for your sabbatical if you don't want to. If you're like, I don't want to travel though, I just want to stay home, you can do that. You just have to calculate, okay, these are my bare bones expenses, and I also want to go out to eat a couple times a week, so incorporate that into there. If an emergency pops up, incorporate that into there, etc. And you get your number. All right, let's just do a couple more.
A couple of years ago, I quit my corporate job and took an 8-month sabbatical, which I funded through what I call an EFIT fund. And this is something I had built the couple of years prior. And every time I talk about this, I get a lot of questions and comments from people about how this is possible. So I wanted to break down a few savings tips that I adopted 3 years ago and still do today that have let me stash aside money for things that actually matter. Now, I will say before I get into this, my husband and I are child-free by choice. I realize this affords us a ton of financial freedom versus those who have families, but I do know a lot of moms and dads who have taken career breaks and sabbaticals, so it's not impossible. The other thing I'll say is, no, I do not have any debt. I do have a 401k and a Roth that I contribute to. But there are so many ways to save that I think people aren't even realizing in their everyday life. So let's get right into this. The other thing I'll say is all of these have secondary and tertiary benefits. Don't you love that word, tertiary? I picked that up in corporate, I think. They've got 2 and 3 benefits to them. Health and like mind, spiritual, psychological benefits. All right. Let's go first. Number 1, you need to be a beauty minimalist. Think about all of the money you've spent on creams and makeup and rollers and masks and shit that you don't need and also didn't really make a difference. I cut out so many products 3 years ago and also only use products now that are healthier for my skin and don't have all the chemical craps in them. So I use a 3-in-1 shampoo, body wash, condition my hair only once a week, don't wash my hair every day. I have about 4 or 5 core makeup products that I use, and none of which are expensive. I don't have any crazy face routine. I just 3 sweaters I own, which is from the fancy package shit that take it from a marketer. It's just marketing. It's just is it going to matter in a year? My husband and I rarely go out to eat. I hear from a lot of people like now traveling and then go out.
All right, sorry y'all, I'm jumping around. This is an 8-minute video and she's kind of like focusing for a long time on each thing, which is totally fair. But be a beauty minimalist. This doesn't apply to everybody, and it is a good tip though. Stop buying new clothes, eat whole foods and shop smart. We've talked about that before in the grocery one. I think eating whole foods is a way to cut back. Not the Whole Foods grocery store, but eating like rice, beans, vegetables, fruits. Foods that come out of the earth, it's going to cost you less. Question your purchases, absolutely. Think before making purchases, and also calculate cost per use. How much is it going to cost me for each time that I use this item? If I buy a pair of jeans and I only wear them once and they were $50, that cost me $50 for that one use, versus if you wear it 50 times, then it's $1 per use, and it's going to decrease from there. Cut subscriptions. Yep, lots of people can benefit from that. Also, are you even aware of the subscriptions that you have? Because a lot of people aren't. Exercise outside / at home. For me, I'm not willing to give up my gym membership. It's like I weight lift, so I prefer to have that. So depends on what you prefer to do. Embrace staycations. Yeah, okay. Let's do one more.
I'm taking time away from work. This is my mini sabbatical. I'm not even gonna hold y'all and be like, I'm so sad, blah, 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 blah. You'll never catch me on the internet crying. But I will say that this has been, I also don't really cry. I will say though, this has been the best time away from work, and I don't know when I'm going back. And my hope is that during this time away from work, I meet a rich old white man to sweep me off my feet.
Oh God, she just posted this the other day too. Good for her though. And maybe if she puts that out there and she's looking for it, she just might find it. But hopefully she prepared for this. and can enjoy the time off. All right, I'm gonna do one more because that was just like a silly one.
I quit my job 2 months ago to come live in Europe for the summer, and I haven't talked about that on here for a while. Like, all of everything I've been posting has been Europe oriented, but I haven't really given like the origin story to that. So the too long didn't read all of this is that I had worked for a company for 8 years, great company, but never really felt like settled there. I also was living in a city, which was Minneapolis, Minnesota, that I never really felt totally settled in. And I was just like, I got to make a change. I got to make a big change. And I didn't know what I wanted that to be. So enter Europe. I'd always loved being here. I wanted to spend more time here. And now we're here. The full circle moment of this is that I'm actually staying in a hotel that I stayed in the first time I ever came to Europe, which was almost 10 years ago. I came to Paris. I'd never left the country before. I was a senior in college. I was doing the 4.5 years. It was my half semester, senior in college, 23 years old, and had the most amazing, magical semester of my life. And when that was over, I was like, this is it. You're never going to get to do anything like this ever again. Even though you loved it, it was the most magical semester. That was it. That was your once in a lifetime opportunity. And I say all that because here I am again, same hotel, almost the same time of year. And I just would love to say to that girl, you can do these things again. It might not be same person, same place, same time, but you can make it full circle and you can spend time in Europe and you can do all the things that you thought you were going to do and do them again. And your life is not over. And I need to remember that because that's how I'm feeling right now, that I'm going to have to leave Europe. And anyways, I'm rambling at this point, but I guess this is just my way of saying, if you want to do something and you can set your mind to it, you will figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, your life is not over. And I think that's important too. I'm going to stop there. I think that's a great reminder, and just to keep in mind that you're not stuck where you're at. It may feel like it, and you may be stuck for some time, but there are options out there for you. And maybe it's not a year-long sabbatical, but could you do a month? Could you do 2 months? Could you do part-time work while you're taking a sabbatical? And I know that's not a full sabbatical, but just something that switches things up and, allows you to enjoy life and enjoy youth, your health, and all these different things, your family. But yeah, honestly, this makes me want to help people to plan sabbaticals and talk things through, because I'm really good at planning is one thing, but there's just so much to think about with it. And I think that this is something that can be possible for way more people, and so many people deserve this. You deserve that break, you deserve rest, you deserve to do what you want to do in your life. And I think sabbaticals, mini retirements, are kind of the answer to that for those who don't want to take on self-employment or things of that nature. Hopefully this inspired you to start planning if that's been something on your to-do or your bucket list item. And as I said before, if you're planning a sabbatical or you're currently on one, I'd love to hear about it, so be sure to leave that in the comments. But otherwise, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.